Now that my semester has come to an end and I finished my third year of college, I thought I'd talk about what it's like going to art school during a pandemic. So it was about halfway through the semester when things started to close down, and I took 2 LA classes and 3 photography classes. So the LA classes were basically just the same, just 3-hour lectures like they always are every week. And then for like the midterm and final, it's just like a paper to write. So for those, the switch wasn't that hard. It was actually more enjoyable because I didn't really have to pay attention as much during those classes because, as always, LA classes are my least favorite ones. So for my darkroom class, while we were still on campus, we were learning how to develop film and printing in the darkroom. So for online, we had homework due every 2 weeks because my teacher wanted to give people time who still wanted to shoot film to be able to send it off to labs and get the scans back. But I can develop my own film at home, but I didn't want to do that because I really don't shoot black and white for one. And then also I knew these photos were not going to be great and that I'm never going to use them again. So I didn't want to put that money into film. So what I did was I just taped the back of my LCD screen like my teacher told us to do and used a light meter for reading. So it felt like I was still shooting film even though I wasn't. So the assignments were basic stuff that you would expect your teacher to give you for home assignments, like a self-portrait and just photographing the thing you use most kind of in your daily routine and kind of showing it in a different light. So stuff you kind of expect to give to like first year students, so it was kind of disappointing getting those kind of assignments. So for the final, so it was pretty open. He let us do whatever we wanted. We just needed about like 5 to 10 pictures, and it was kind of more focusing on why the pictures work in black and white. So for my documentary class, I just ended up focusing like kind of everyday things that I use, kind of focusing more on the close-up, abstract, and kind of details of them. So this first one here, which my teacher actually ended up liking the best, is just a water bottle, which I thought turned out cool. This next one is just my keyboard on my laptop. As you can see, a bunch of scratches and kind of food crumbs and stuff like that. No matter how many times I try and get them out, it just doesn't work. But yeah, I just thought, why not show something I use literally every day. This next one here is my hard drive. My teacher did like this one as well. He kind of liked the more abstract ones. But yeah, I thought this turned out nice. It's also kind of hard to realize it's a hard drive unless you actually have this hard drive. Next one here is just the chair that I usually sit in to edit because that is very important when you sit around all day. This next one here is just a view from outside my window looking through a film camera, which I actually have right here. So yeah, it's just looking through here, kind of to the backyard, which is the window there. This next one here is just kind of an abstract of a Lego Empire State Building that I have on my dresser. Kind of self-explanatory here. And then the last one here is just my skateboard and kind of like all the scratch marks on the deck that you can see that it's been through. But yeah, that is basically what I turned in for my documentary project. Nothing spectacular. Didn't really put a whole lot of effort into this project. But I do wish the final could have been focused more in the darkroom, but I kind of had to settle for these. So for my documentary class, it was a little bit of an easier transition from on-site to online. Because on-site, basically, we're just doing lectures and videos, and it was basically the same thing when we switched to online still. But every week, my teacher did bring in guest speakers from the industry to talk to us for half the class and kind of just give us kind of their experience in the industry and also like kind of what they're going through right now. So it was pretty interesting. And it was actually kind of above and beyond for him to do that for us, which is really nice. So the only homework we had for that class besides the final was 12 pictures of kind of our daily routine in quarantine. So it was kind of your basic stuff, like what people eat, what we do every day, which is just like watching Netflix and stuff like that. So it wasn't really that interesting, but it was kind of a good assignment to get you thinking, like, what you actually do every day and like how different it is from what you used to do before. Then after that, it was just working on making sure your final was the best it could be, and for the final, it was just documenting the virus in any way you wanted to. And as you probably know from previous videos on my channel, I've just been documenting the empty places around my kind of area, like shopping centers and malls that are forced to close, and it's called Non-Essential, and as you can probably also see behind me, there are pictures from it, and I'm working on making it into a scene on my own as kind of like a side project. So for my documentary class, I took about 700 pictures for the project, and from there I narrowed it down to 17 for my final. I'm just going to be showing you 5 of them right here, but if you want to see the rest of them, I will link the other videos where I was kind of documenting my journey with this project. So right now, the first one we're looking at is just my local mall. This is the parking lot structure where we usually go to park. But as you can see, it's fenced off, so that was a very fun, interesting thing to see. And there's also like security going around that kind of kicked me out eventually, but that's beside the point. This next one is a drone shot, because while I also did want to get like the ground shots, I knew the aerial shots would kind of be the most impactful, because this is like a view people don't really see, and then they see this huge thing that empty is kind of crazy. But this is just, this is another shopping center. This is an outdoor one. It's actually across the highway from the one previously in the picture, but yeah, this one is a new one, and they made it look a lot like LA, and it was just crazy because this one's like always crowded, so to see it empty was really something. So this next picture is another outdoor shopping area center, and this one's more of a composition reason of why I like it, just like the leading lines, and just kind of like how I got it on the corner, and my teacher really did like this one, so this is kind of like how I'm starting off my project. And then this one's just a downtown area in a more wealthier neighborhood, but it's usually a lot of people walking around in cars, so to see like this kind of side street that just goes through like the whole downtown area with nobody there was pretty interesting. And then the last one that I'm going to show you here is another outdoor shopping center, but this is also a movie theater one, and it's a very nice one. Kind of also in a more wealthier neighborhood. It is also close to San Francisco. That kind of explains why. But yeah, this place is really nice and empty, and I thought, why not photograph it? Now, the last class I took was my Photoshop class. This is the 3rd Photoshop class I've taken. I've taken 2 previously, so this was kind of like the last one out of the lineup. And for the first couple of weeks, we only met for like 10 minutes instead of the normal 3 hours, which the classes usually were. And that was just because it was kind of like still an adjustment period, and also just to like check in and tell us about the videos that my teacher like recorded for us to watch to learn new techniques. But later on, he found stuff to show us to make classes a little bit longer. They still didn't really go the full 3 hours, but he kind of just showed us like what it's like to be a freelance photo editor, and like projects he gets, and kind of like what he's working on right now, and his process from what it first looks like getting work to like kind of the end result. So while that was cool, while he showed us kind of what goes on in his process, he didn't give us any homework, which I kind of understand, but at like the same time, like I'm paying for this class, I'm paying to learn Photoshop, and he did teach us stuff, but he didn't make it a requirement to learn, which I thought was kind of whatever. But like I said, I personally would have wanted homework, but that's just me. So the only things he actually had to do for us were the midterm and the final exam. So the midterm was to take a portrait of a person that could use like beauty retouching, like skin editing, like pimples and stuff, or just like getting rid of loose hairs, and then taking a still life product shot as well, and kind of combining the two and making them kind of work together. Alright, so here is the beauty picture for my midterm. This one I did not take. I just found all these from the internet, because I do not take pictures of people in kind of that manner. So here's where I started. I just found this picture of a woman laying down, and then I did some editing to remove like hairs and some pimples, like my teacher kind of asked us to, kind of just like basic kind of standard beauty retouching. I didn't really do a whole lot to retouch your face or anything like that. And then after that, I made a path of her and kind of changed the background from the leaves that she was laying on. And then I added some contrast to her to make her stand out from the background a little bit more. And then we added the perfume, which was the product that I was highlighting. It is very small though, so you can't really see it a whole lot. I don't even know if this layer does anything. Sometimes you can't even tell. Then from there, I started adding these brushes. I don't know, just to kind of make it more kind of dynamic and stick out a bit more. I thought it was fun. Then I started adding the powdered more. And then I had to make another file of it because of how big it was, and because I kind of did some stuff where I couldn't go back accidentally. So, and then this was where I started from there, and then I fixed up the perfume bottle because you could still see a little bit of leaf in her hand there. And then from there, I just added LUTs. I just mixed a bunch of few because I thought they looked good together. And then, yeah, I just added a shadow to the perfume bottle as well to make it look like it was really in her hand. And yeah, I think it turned out pretty cool. I do like it. Definitely not a standard beauty shot, more kind of edgier and kind of my style, but I still enjoyed it. My teacher liked it, and it was kind of the most different from what anyone else in the class was doing. So the final was more open-ended to fit kind of our photography styles and what we do. So we just had to do 3 kind of major editing on photographs that either we took or that fit kind of our style. So for my Photoshop final, since I photographed concerts, I just decided to go back and edit 3 concert pictures and kind of make them more composite and heavier editing than kind of just the basic editing that I do when I have a lot of them. So this first one here is just Bad Bunny. Was at an arena show, so we were from Soundboard. But yeah, this was last year. This is where I started. This is like raw from camera, and then I basically just started adding things from there that I thought worked, like the logo for like the bunny logo, the name of his tour, his name as well, and just kind of adding overlays and effects from there until it kind of just came together and flowed. I actually like how this turned out. I thought I kept working with it. It took about 40 minutes, but like one time at one side was like way heavier balance than the other, but in the end I think it turned out great. So this next one here is Galantis, and I shot this at the end of February, so it was kind of one of the last kind of few shows before everything happened. Crazy story, this was actually the second show that I photographed that night, so just kind of the night in general was crazy, but this was a nice picture that I got there. This is the original. Again, I just started adding stuff, kind of fixed in the fog so his hand wasn't kind of sticking out in darkness. Then I added a lyric from one of their favorite songs of mine, and then just kept adding stuff like the confetti. And yeah, I just went from there, and I think it turned out really well. This is probably my favorite out of the 3 just because it is more subtle, and I don't know, I just like it the best, probably because out of the 3 they are one of my favorite artists, so that might be why. And then this last one here was Poppy. This was in January. It was at a smaller venue, so the photo pit alone was very cramped, and just making my way through the crowd after was also pretty cramped, but small shows are also kind of fun for that nature. This is kind of what I ended up with. And then here's the beginning. Like previous 2, I just kept adding stuff. I fixed the hard edge on the border because it was kind of like a sad and kind of wrinkly, just like tarp they threw up. Then I added fog because every show needs fog. Changed the color of the fog to make it more subtle and like it actually was there. Added the music sheet, then I changed the color to kind of match the background so it would kind of not seem as harsh. Then from there things got fun and I added the fire and just kind of cleaned things up as well. But yeah, those are 3 pictures I turned in for my Photoshop final. Pretty proud of them. Obviously, this is kind of photography I do, but I just don't edit the pictures as much because I usually have hundreds to go through and edit, so I don't have time to kind of sit down and take 30 to 40 minutes on one image, but I still think they turned out great. So when I got the email about classes being switched to online, I was a little upset at first actually, because I actually do enjoy most of my classes and like this is actually what I want to do for my life. So getting, the kind of the first-hand real experience and more equipment and stuff that we get to use on campus, and then basically still paying all that money for not using that equipment kind of sucked. At first we were told that the online would only be happening for 2 weeks, but then as things kept getting worse and the city was shutting down, then it was permanently switched for the rest of the semester. But luckily for most of my classes, the experience was still kind of the same, except for the obvious human interaction. But yeah, I was still able to get a good amount of stuff out of them, even if they were online. The only exception was my darkroom class, because before, like I mentioned, we were doing like making these prints in the darkroom, which was really cool, and learning all that stuff like burning and dodging with it. And obviously we can't do that here because not everyone even knows how to make their own darkroom or has a darkroom. So that was kind of the only exception there. And it did kind of feel like a waste of money at this point, but I know like my school, a lot of other schools weren't doing like partial refunds for classes, so we just kind of had to get stuck with what we got. But my school was helpful and understanding on some ports, like for my dorm, since I moved out, I was still able to get a partial refund. And then also departments were sending out equipment for rentals for people locally and even not locally, so they shipped out like stuff to them, like lighting equipment or monitors and stuff like that, so it was pretty cool of them to do that. As of right now, I am signed up for summer classes. I think they're going to be online still, but I haven't actually gotten an official word from my school yet, and they start kind of towards the mid-end of June, so we do have a little bit of time until then, but like still I would kind of like to know not until the last minute. So for a fall semester, which starts in September, we still don't have any information on if it's going to be on campus or online, because it is still far away and they kind of just want to wait till the last, I guess close till as possible to make 100% decision on anything. Now I'm hoping that the classes will get back to on-site because it is my last year, and also because the 3 photography classes that I am taking next semester would be a lot more difficult and basically just nearly impossible to do online, and having to do those classes online would just be like a huge waste of money, like at that point. But nobody knows what's going to happen at this point. The only thing I really know is that I just can't wait to get my bachelor's degree and just be officially done with school.